Democrat Adam Schiff says no way Jose to the list of witnesses the GOP wants to call in the Trump impeachment hearings. Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley has some tough words about the deep state, and Bernie Sanders puts a price tag on his latest socialist idea. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, I hope you had a great weekend. We got a lot to cover, as you heard in the intro. And I want to throw in one other story real quick because it just shows Ilhan Omar doing the same stuff she always does, and it's probably going to get a pass from the Democrats and from the media. This weekend, CNBC announced that billionaire Leon Cooperman has said that he's going to endorse Michael Bloomberg for president. Both men are Jewish, and in reaction to CNBC's tweet, Ilhan Omar tweeted this. She said, "I wonder why." And it just, once again, it's the backlash she's received has been intense because it shows an ongoing pattern. This is the same person who referred to the Jewish community's involvement as being all about the Benjamins. And she just doesn't learn. And hopefully, someone will say something and the media will actually cover this because it's ongoing. She never changes. She does the same thing. So next, I want to get into the show and talk about Nikki Haley, because she is a former UN ambassador under President Trump, former governor of South Carolina. She has a new book, and she sat down with CBS this morning and talked about it and talked about life in the Trump White House and how people, top officials, were trying to subvert the actions of President Trump. These are people that were hired to work for the president, and they have their own agenda. And here's what she had to say.
Haley recounts a closed-door encounter with then White House Chief of Staff John Kelly and then Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. Kelly and Tillerson confided in me that when they resisted the president, they weren't being insubordinate, they were trying to save the country.
So in addition to Kelly's comments, Norah O'Donnell, the host, the interviewer, she also quoted from the book. Rex Tillerson said that he subverted the president's actions, otherwise people would die. And so in reaction to that, this is what Haley said.
Instead of saying that to me, they should have been saying that to the president, not asking me to join them on their sidebar plan. It should have been, go tell the president what your differences are and quit if you don't like what he's doing. But to undermine a president is really a very dangerous thing. And it goes against the Constitution, and it goes against what the American people want.
So Haley is absolutely right, okay? The president was elected. It's his policies. When people vote for a president, they say, and the president wins, this person wins, they're saying, put your policies in place. This is why we voted for you. We're going to reevaluate after 4 years. But to hire people and have those people think that they know better and try and subvert those policies, talk to the president, talk to your boss. If you don't like it, then quit. That's how things work. So both Tillerson and Kelly were given a chance to respond, and here's what Kelly said.
We asked them to respond. John Kelly tells Sunday Morning, if by resistance and stalling she means putting a staff process in place to ensure the president knew all the pros and cons of what policy decision he might be contemplating so he could make an informed decision, then guilty as charged.
So blah, blah, blah from Kelly. And it goes at what we've said before. This shows what the deep state is all about. These entrenched bureaucrats that think that they are the policymakers. They are foreign policymakers. They are domestic policymakers. They're not. They are there to carry out the president's domestic and foreign policy agenda. And we see what happens when a president doesn't play ball the right way, the way the establishment wants him to. We see what's happening, and thankfully Nikki Haley is pointing it out. She was also asked about impeachment and this whole idea that funds were withheld unless Ukraine did an investigation, and here's what she said about that.
The Ukrainians never did the investigation, and the president released the funds. I mean, when you look at those, there's just nothing impeachable there. And more than that, I think the biggest thing that bothers me is the American people should decide this. Why do we have a bunch of people in Congress making this decision?
All right, you can't say it more directly than that. No investigation was forced. The Ukrainians, the president said there was nothing wrong with the phone call and the funds weren't withheld. The Ukrainians got the funds. So there's nothing there. And Haley rightfully pointed it out. So next, going into the impeachment story, I want to give you the latest of what's going on because now we enter a new phase. This week we enter a phase of public hearings. So the GOP, as a counter to all the craziness that Adam Schiff and the Democrats have been doing so far with private hearings and limited witnesses and coaching witnesses and fabricating stories and statements, the GOP has a list of witnesses that they want to call, including folks like Hunter Biden, who's at the heart of this Ukraine stuff, the whistleblower himself or herself, and people like that to actually shed some light in a public arena on what's going on. And Schiff doesn't want any part of it. And here's a report from the Washington Times. It says, House Republicans want to call Hunter Biden and the whistleblower as witnesses in the Democratic impeachment inquiry, but House Permanent Select Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff is having none of it. In a Saturday statement, the California Democrat said he would refuse to allow public committee hearings, which begin Wednesday, to be used to pursue sham investigations into the Bidens. This inquiry is not and will not serve, however, as a vehicle to undertake the same sham investigations into the Bidens, said Mr. Schiff, or 2016 that the president pressed Ukraine to conduct for his personal political benefit, or to facilitate the president's effort to threaten, intimidate, and retaliate against the whistleblower who courageously raised the initial alarm. All right, so again, Schiff can make up information, completely fabricate statements, coach witnesses, hold closed-door hearings, yet the Republicans want to get this out in the open, and he's saying, no, we can't do that. We're playing by our rules on this whole bogus hearing anyway. And here's more from the Washington Times. It says the chairman's response came shortly after ranking member Devin Nunes sent out a list of 8 requested witnesses to testify publicly as part of what he called the sham impeachment process. In addition to Mr. Biden, son of former Vice President Joseph Biden, and a former board member of Ukraine's Burisma Holdings, the list included former Burisma board member Devin Archer, ex-Democrat National Committee staffer Alexandra Chalupa, and former Fusion GPS opposition researcher Nellie Orr. Mr. Nunes also sent testimony from all individuals relied upon by the anonymous whistleblower in drafting his or her secondhand complaint. All right, like I said, public hearings are supposed to start this week, and I will definitely keep you posted on who and who is not allowed to testify. So next I want to talk about Bernie Sanders because he's given a speech, and you know, he's full-on socialist. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, full-on socialist, and they have these policies that will just not only tear up the economy, they will destroy the economy because the price tag is too high. They're going to kill jobs. They're going to kill growth, all in an effort to put socialism, impose socialism on the United States. So he was in Iowa, and he's talking about his latest plan and how much it will cost, and here's what he said.
Now, building on the Green New Deal, we have brought forth a rather detailed proposal, and I have been criticized by some who say it is expensive. Well, they're right, it is. It's $16 trillion.
So that's $16 trillion. I mean, wow. And here's what the plan would do. Okay, this is from the Washington Examiner. It says the $16.3 trillion plan intends to transition the United States to 100% renewable energy in a decade. Sanders proposes paying for the plan by cutting military spending, increasing taxes on the wealthy and corporations, litigation, fees, and taxes on the fossil fuel industry, and collecting new income revenue from the 20 million new jobs created by the plan, in addition to other ideas. All right, so, oh my God, I don't even know where to start, okay? 20 million new jobs, he's destroying an entire industry. So many people are going to be out of work. And how does he expect to collect tax revenue to pay for this from the fossil fuel industry when he is driving the fossil fuel industry out of business? Okay? If you're a corporation that doesn't make any money, guess what? You're not going to pay any taxes. If you are in charge, if you're working in that industry and you are out of a job, you're not paying any taxes. So his whole plan is just ridiculous. And yet they keep pushing these things as if socialism is the be-all, end-all, even though it's never worked, even though it'll destroy the economy. He keeps doing it. So next, I want to talk to you about what happened this weekend at the Alabama LSU game, because President Trump was there. And, you know, the media made a big deal during the World Series when President and First Lady Melania Trump showed up at one of the World Series games in D.C. And they talked about the boos the president received and things like that. And MSNBC apparently wanted to see if that might happen again at the Alabama LSU game. So they sent a reporter down to the game, obviously not to cover sports, but to cover what the reaction would be for President Trump at the game. So before we get into the Q&A for the reporter, here was the reaction to President Trump at the game. All right, so that was the reaction. It was just awesome. But like I said, we had an MSNBC reporter, and she was interviewing 3 students. And I don't know what MSNBC's angle was, what they were trying to prove or show. But what happened was just, it was so awesome, so interesting. And I don't think they liked the responses. Here is one response from the first person.
What do you make of President Trump's visit here to this big game this afternoon?
Honestly, I'm so honored that the president would come to Tuscaloosa.
So then she moves down the line, and here's the response from the second one.
Delaney, what kind of a reception do you think the president is going to be met with inside the stadium?
I think for this game, it's going to be a very positive reaction for the president. I think there's going to be probably either a standing ovation or at least a lot of cheering.
All right, so we have another great response. All right, that's 2 for 2 right now. And so now she moves down to the final one, the guy at the end. So he's bound to have something intelligent to say, right? It's her final guest. I'm sure they talked to these people before they got going. So what insightful comment did he bring to the discourse? What did he offer to MSNBC? Check this out.
And I want to turn here to Parker as well. The 3 of you told me you voted for the president in 2016. You're supporters of his. Why do you like him so much, and what policies stand out to you that you support?
Well, I would say mainly just the no-nonsense policies, and especially since Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. That's awesome, yeah. That's totally perfect. Just can't wait to see it.
Turning back to Alabama.
So that's right. We got some breaking news, and you heard it right here. And that was just awesome to do that with a straight face. I don't know how he pulled it off, but you could hear the host back at the studio on MSNBC wondering, oh, I don't know. And then the reporter was just, let's move on. But that was so funny when I saw those reactions, those reports, that I just had to share it with you, because anytime you can stick it to MSNBC, I say go for it, because that is just the worst network. I mean, it's just terrible. So I found that really funny, and I hope you enjoyed it too, because we're still wondering. We still know he didn't kill himself. So anyway, folks, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, and when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified, and we'll see you next time. I'm Bobby Eberly. This is a 13-minute news hour. Okay, friends, just a little reminder before you go, and no, this does not count against my 13 minutes. Please hit the subscribe button below and tell your friends. And if you happen to miss our last show, you can check it out right here. And also for great conservative news and commentary, please check out GOPUSA.com. All right, folks, we'll see you on the next show. Have a great day.